Taking a live look now from our Fox 5 rover. It is driving. It's dark, but it's driving on Warm Springs and Henderson through the still developing Cadence Master Plan community. As homes and apartments continue to be built there, neighbors say construction is making this stretch of road unsafe to drive. And tonight we met with some of those neighbors who expressed their concerns. They say that there are minor accidents there constantly, and they want something to be done before someone really gets hurt.
Driving down Warm Springs to the Cadence area is it's a challenge. It's more than a challenge. It's more like an obstacle course.
Kevin Curry says Warm Springs between Water and Boulder Highway has always been under construction in the year and a half he's lived here.
Curb all of a sudden seemed like it just jumps right out at you.
The cones are constantly shifting and drivers aren't sure where to go.
You see all kind of wrecks on the side of the road, you know, people missing the turns, hitting barriers.
His wife drives 2 miles out of the way to avoid Warm Springs. He calls the road a nightmare, especially at night.
You have cars coming in both directions, and most of them are driving with their high beams on, which you can't blame them because you can't see.
And it is extremely unsafe and hard to see. Cadence
resident Michael Haskins also says it is confusing both day and night.
People can hit the curb. There's left turn lanes that don't have stoplights or stop signs, and people are locking up their brakes and rear-ending each other.
1 or 2 times that I actually went on the wrong side of the road because I couldn't tell where I was supposed to be.
And Adita Weatherby says her husband William crashed into a concrete barrier on Warm Springs.
Both of my tires on the SUV flat.
That mistake cost them $1,200.
Because we had to get the car towed, and we had to get new rims and new tires for the car.
Neighbors say they want to see something done now to make the road safer, new street lights or road reflectors added. That unless something is done to make the streets safer as the community continues to grow larger, Warm Springs is another accident waiting to happen.
We need some help out here.
But they need to do something before someone gets seriously injured.
And Fox 5 reaching out to the city of Henderson about Warm Springs. They tell us they sent Public Works to check on it and found that, quote, the lights are in service along Warm Springs between Boulder Highway and Water Street. The only lights that are not working are under the responsibility of the new development and have not been activated.